Look. Okay, 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. I ain't never seen a city sleep. You can really hit a city breathe. They be saying we ain't got culture, they just don't know what it really means. No, we gotta represent, heavy underrated, yeah, we gotta make a scene. No shade to the other guys, but you can't deny we the one to be. Capital city, the map looking pretty when we on it. So community driven, the people we living with, loving each other. That's all that we seeking for.
Ozay, brother.
Justin, brother.
We're here.
Yeah, man.
We're talking.
Yep.
I was thinking back on, kind of in preparation for this conversation, how long we've been working together.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a step back. You've been rocking your all the above hip hop academy work for more than a decade.
Yep.
I got to meet you relatively early on in that process, and I've been unbelievably inspired ever since. The Promise has had the privilege of working with AOTA on a number of projects in a number of ways, not the least of which is the cook-up right here.
Yep. Eastern and Everett. Soon to be Sexton as well.
There it is.
Yep.
We're going to hit all three of our high schools.
Yep.
Maybe let's start there and then we'll work backwards. The cook-up.
Yeah.
Give us a little understanding of both what it is and kind of how we got to building it.
So I'll start with how we got there.
Sure.
And I'll give better context as to why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
Perfect.
So prior to the pandemic, we were kind of like teasing the idea of being in the schools.
Yeah.
You know, mainly just to catch as many teens as possible. I think through the process of having teenage-centered programs and watching the numbers kind of like wane. You know, like it'd be like up, down, and then pairing that with youth programs, you know, kids between 6 and let's say 12.
Yeah.
Really consistent in terms of like the attendance, you know, kids who enroll in our programs, which are all free, right? So we're like, let's just eliminate barriers, you know? So this is part of that barrier eliminating work, barrier breaking work is going to the schools, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same kind of energy for teens, right? They didn't have the same kind of, I won't say they had the same kind of support, but in regards to attendance, younger kids were always there. Parents are always dropping them off. Teenagers was like, man, we have like 10 kids registered. We might have 2 or 3 at any given day, you know? And it's more reasons than just like the lack of parent support. Obviously, there's getting a job. There's then just transportation. And it's just having other things to do. You know, schoolwork, your school load is a little heavier, right? So prior to the pandemic, we were like, let's try to get some kids from the high schools, but it was never like, let's bring our programs to the high schools and leave them there. We always believed in the idea of building community outside of school, you know, because that's where kids are living their lives. That's where they need a lot of the support. They have the support on campus, but having support outside of school was imperative. So then the pandemic hits. We'd already just kind of played around with being in schools, and then the pandemic hits, and we're like, leading up to that, we're like, well, it's been hard to get teens. I don't know if we're ever going to be back in person, you know?
Right.
So we started doing this work virtually. And in the process of connecting with young people virtually, we started to hear exactly what they wanted and what they needed and how important, like, it became far less about recording and making music and writing lyrics and that sort of thing, and just having like time with each other, proximity with each other virtually. And so that had us thinking like, man, we have to figure out how to facilitate spaces where we can build like intentionally, in person. If we're not getting kids in our space, how do we go to them? You know, so there's always been a transient nature to AOTA for that reason.
That meeting them where they're at.
Meeting where they're at, right? And so I just kind of doubled down on that after the pandemic. Problem was that now we didn't know if we were ever going to be in person again. And just starting that conversation about how can we be in your school doing this work? They're like, we're just trying to figure out how to be in school, period.
That's right.
But finally the opportunity presented itself, and we approached So during the pandemic, we had a couple Eastern alumni who we connected with. They worked with us. They ended up going through our program and then becoming instructors for AOTA, through this whole process. And we're like, okay, if we're going to focus on any one school first, let's focus on Eastern because we have alumni there.
Sure.
And we're like, well, how are we going to do this? What does this engagement look like? Well, it's like, well, we know that having space to air out how you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're dealing with in life is important. We do that through the scope and lens of hip hop culture, right? So we center hip hop, we do the creative thing, we do the skill building thing, we do the historical preservation and advancement thing, but then we're having these conversations around like, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go with your life? Who do you want to be outside of here? These bigger questions. So we're thinking about who else can we bring into this conversation? We can bring the promise to the conversation. We could bring the village to the conversation. We could bring this whole tribe and this whole network of good folks doing this amazing work in Lansing to the conversation, using hip hop as that intersection. You know what I mean? So the cook-up essentially is just students getting together to create music, to explore hip hop culture, to get connected to other young aspiring artists, fostering community, and then being made aware of the resources that are at their disposal in our community, in the school district, or in their school and outside. Namely, one of them being the promise. It's like, hey, so a kid might come to us and be like, hey, I'm interested in music making, probably thinking about moving to Chicago when I get out of here. I might want to go to school. And it's like, hey, so pause. Let's work on some skills here. Also, do you know you can go to school at LCC and have your tuition paid for and get your certificate?
We build what we believe is important for them based on our obligation, responsibility, privilege. But you're actually asking the students what's meaningful to them.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about both motivation, but you're also talking about inspiration. You're talking about real interest, and then saying use that real interest, young man, young woman, to move forward in what a career could look like. And let's be real, you're talking about retention too, but it's retention with heart, not for numbers.
Right.
Right? Because community is not really built on community is not built on whether we've sold you on it.
Yeah.
Community is built on whether you are heard, seen, known, and know your place and role in that greater community.
Right.
I think too often, and this is really one of the many reasons we work with you all, too often we have tried to build things like a scholarship program and say, well, the scholarship should be enough.
Right.
And we know, historically speaking, based on the fact that we now operate 43 different scholarships that we've been asked to operate because none of them were being used as effectively as they could be.
Right, right.
And that had to do with, one, students not knowing, but more importantly, students not seeing themselves as either college or skilled trades material, right? A lot of those conversations, though, have taken place with you all, have taken place with mentors who care about our kids, but also help our kids see from many different perspectives the value of education. Not because one person told them, but because 100 people told them, right? Because a trusted source, right? A credible messenger. Because Ozay Moore, whom is a dope MC and can rip the mic, said, hey, have you also thought about ...
Yeah.
Right? That credible messenger piece, is so important. It's something that I cannot walk into all rooms and say all things to kids. But when you walk into a room, you can say things different to different kids than I can. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a credibility that you bring to the table that nothing but experience could ever match.
Yeah.
And your experience, right, in the hip hop scene, in touring, in community development is critically important. But what I mean, you and I have been, normally this would be coffee, right?
Yeah.
You and I drink a lot of coffee.
Water's cool.
Right? This is water.
It's nice.
We're staying hydrated. But you and I have also had the privilege of meeting on a regular to just talk shop, to talk life. Because what you just said about hip hop to me, that we use the means of hip hop, right, to reach kids and help them understand their futures and their options. I will tell you that it is a privilege to count you as a friend, as you and I have met, and I use that means of friendship to help understand my being a husband and a father, right, and a director.
Yeah.
Right, because this city only works when we trust each other.
Right.
And when we support each other.
Right.
the work that you have done, the community you have built. Could you take us down a little bit of the history of all the above, both the Hip Hop Academy and maybe just the community of MCs you've built or that you have drawn together?
Yeah.
Right under this mantle.
Yeah. So I'm a transplant from Seattle. Moved here in 06, where my wife and I got married. We met in Portland, relocated here. At the time when we got married, I was still a traveling, touring, recording artist, using Lansing as my home base. Being in the Midwest opposed to the West Coast now, a lot of this touring was really easy because you can get to a variety of different cities from here, you know, any direction besides north, really, unless you're doing Traverse City or Sault Ste. Marie, maybe. That's
right.
That's a slew of Traverse City shows.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, Chicago's not far. Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati, all into Pittsburgh, all into Jersey, all into like Philly. I mean, it was just a drive away.
Yeah.
So it's easy to tour from here.
Yeah.
So discovered that early, but I also had kids early, you know, within the first year and a half. And I was having my first son, you know. And I think the last thing we did there was the Warped Tour in 2008. So I spent, between 2006, spent almost half of that time being somebody who is preparing to have a son, you know, touring as much as I can, traveling, bringing my wife with me, overseas tours, and really building community here. You know, some of those people I met early on, James Garden used to go by Filthy, you know, Joshua Smith, you know, used to go by Jay Young, the General. There's a bunch of folks that were kind of all of a sudden we were part of this ecosystem of artists who were speaking the same language, right? You know, it was like, it's hip hop, is about rocking dope shows, but it's also about, you know, the culture and doing something positive and doing something for the community. And so after 2008, I leave back to the West Coast with my son, my newborn, and my wife, right on the heels of the Warped Tour. And I got out there, and it was tough. It was 2008. It was a recession. It was, you know, community started meaning something different to me at that point in time, right? Because I was thinking I need to get out of Lansing. I don't really understand Lansing, and as close as it is, as easy as it is to tour here, it's just not for me, you know. So I'm gonna leave, and then like a boomerang, we came right back because of community and having a young person and having a kid who needed aunts, uncles, and grandparents and stuff to help raise this child, you know. Or at least it'd be valuable to have those assets available. So anyway, came back, started playing around with this ideas. I was like, okay, as I'm making this transition personally, I got introduced to hip hop ed, doing some residency work in schools. But all those opportunities were in Detroit, so I was commuting to and from Detroit as a artist who was going through the transformation of full-time writing, recording, touring to trying to put my life together, right? Like making that big transition. Now I got to take care of a wife and kids. I need to make more than I've been making before, just off of music alone. I know hip hop. I didn't have a traditional path. I didn't go to college. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, this is what I knew. You know, and I was trying to figure out how to make it work. You know, so the opportunity of doing some residency work, working in schools, working in academia as a almost adjunct professor in hip hop, you know, and hip hop studies. This was new to me. I was like, what? You want to talk about hip hop at MSU or U of M, and I get to be the instructor or the teacher? This was like foreign. But it had me starting to think about, what if we leveraged hip hop to do more than, you know, or hip hop culture to do more than entertain? What if it was a resource in these spaces around, you know, human development and the academic components to it, you know, the societal elements and the critique and the perspectives that come through, and the analysis that come through, you know, some of these songs and the experiences of artists. You know, this is all context that we could study and pay attention to, because one thing hip hop is great at doing is telling the truth. So let me fast forward through all of this, right?
I love it.
Enter AOTA, and I'm thinking, now, how do I just bring artists together to do more than just music, but actually connect and build community? And then it was, well, would you guys like to come and do like a workshop at our, or after school program here at Edgewood Village was our first opportunity ever.
Yeah.
And that just kind of became the ripple effect of that one opportunity, that summer program was like, well, how do we develop some curriculum that teaches how to write rhymes better, or how to break, or how to do graffiti, how to bend letters, how to DJ. And then it was just like a snowball. Like, how do we do this, but also connect with young people and help build life skills and help set them up to be successful adults, whether or not they are interested or continue down the path of, or the trajectory of being a hip hop recording artist or a musician or dancer at a professional level. Yeah. So yeah, that's AOTA kind of came about that. I mean, we're 12 years later. Yeah. We started out just doing like after school programs, summer projects, events and whatnot. And now we have a brick and mortar downtown and tons of kids who come and work with us, So yeah, that was a long nutshell answer, or a big nutshell answer.
That's a warm up to the work. Well, I mean, it doesn't even do justice to the work that you've done. Let's just be clear on that. We should probably do a long-form documentary at some point.
Hey, I'm with it, man.
Listen,
I don't got all the answers, but I got some answers.
You have more answers than you give yourself credit. We all got responses.
Yeah, I got responses.
You got answers more than you give yourself credit. More importantly, right? We know we are known by our fruits. The kids that I know that have come up and become young men and women through this program are real. Mm. We have scholars who have gone through AOTA. Mm-hmm. You meet every student in the Lansing school district that you work with as a future Promise Scholar. Mm-hmm. We don't know the impact to all the seeds that we are planting, but we know that we are responsible to plant seeds, to help water, and to help nurture. Mm-hmm. Right? What's so incredible about this is, as you're even explaining the history and even the pre-AOTA vision, mm-hmm. that was in the DNA. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You've taught me more about hip hop and hip hop culture than anyone, living or not today. What I've learned through you is that hip hop culture it might be one of the most unifying or uniting forces when done right. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's accurate?
100%. I think we in the hip hop community you have your lived experience, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like kind of synthesizing that information or distilling that information into these categories, right? Yeah. Youth development, human development, economic development. These are some of the things that we're really interested in, right?
That's right.
Community building. And I think everybody from elementary school on to the Capitol building, yeah. If you've had any significant amount of time in hip hop, or you are one of those people who found your voice or your community through hip hop, the impact is just, it's hard to even name it.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing, the work is unpacking and pulling back the layers and naming them, making those things explicit. So yeah, I would say it's unifying. I would also say we haven't even we have begun, but I don't think we even understand the full potential of it. You hear claims like hip hop can save the world.
Right.
And that sounds so trivial.
Right.
If you think about it like, oh, so you're trying to tell me a Tupac song can heal the world or whatever, something silly like that.
I might agree with that, but continue.
You might, but the reality is hip hop is birthed, and it's a lot of different factors coming together, the past, present, future, economic situations, civil unrest, think about the beginning of hip hop and what it's morphed into, right? It's people. It's people advocating for their right to be seen, heard, validated, have a place to express themselves. The business piece is neither here nor there, right? That's an aspect. Right. But really what it comes down to is this is people who have developed mediums by which they can make sure that they are seen and heard from communities that hadn't always had the sights on them or the recognition for being rich, beautiful, healthy, ecosystems,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At face value, like, well, this community is in shambles. You know, the
Mm.
apartment buildings are in rubble. The blah 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 blah, all of the gang violence, and totally miss some of the beautiful parts of those communities, right? And folks who were living through those experiences were able to fashion and shape and build this beautiful thing we know, this culture we know as hip hop. So yes, it's unifying. It's gone on to be in every culture, every community, every language, and mainly because it is very human, and it considers those who weren't always considered, and that is most people on the planet's experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's unifying, but not because of Tupac's song. Maybe.
That's right.
You know, that's
Well,
that's the gateway.
maybe that's peace.
That's
right.
the gateway.
That's the gateway.
Full respect to Tupac.
That's
but
right.
I'm just
That's
saying.
right. Well, but it's the people.
It's the people, man.
It's about the people.
It's about people, period.
It's for the people. It's more than just the voice of the people. Right? What Dr. King say? I cannot condemn a riot until I've condemned the conditions that created it.
Period.
Right? A riot is the voice of the unheard.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens when people are ultimately not only heard, but honestly valued? Right? I think that's the hypothetical, that's the experiment, that is the question that Promise was founded on. And I think it's a very parallel question, hypothetical, that AOTA was founded on. And what's interesting is we've been around 12 years too. When I think about that, like when you said that, I was like, wait a minute. we've been walking in parallel and in tandem, but now we walk in partnership. Yeah. Right? We know that what you do directly correlates to success of our scholars. Yeah. And what we know is what we do should support and impact and help the work you all are doing, because selfishly it helps our scholars.
Yeah, I was saying vice versa.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like I feel like the Promise just wins here, but like the hope is, right, that each of us win, the AOTA wins too, that our kids win, that the district wins. Because what happens if all of us just drop our logos and we unite under this single vision? Right? What happens if we are done taking credit and we start, right, spreading credit out? Yeah. Credit's like manure, right? Left in the pile, it stinks. Yeah. You spread it out, it grows things. Yep. Right? Yeah, facts. Like, let's start giving so much credit that people get sick of it. Because here's what I've learned. I've seen your work and I've seen you operate. Oh, let me acknowledge publicly that the work you do and have done in this city has and will fundamentally change the way we do business in this city. Right. Your heart for our kids, your heart for community, your heart and your understanding of the way hip-hop can speak to those whom may be heard for the very first time is incredibly encouraging, but it's also incredibly inspiring. Yeah. Right? It is incredibly inspiring. From your vantage point, where does AOTA go from here?
Just keep on doing what we've been doing. You know, really, it's we exist to be a gap filler. Yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. You know, or a bridge, so to speak, right? Here's a bridge this way, or this way, this way. Hopefully, you get to the other side of the bridge. We're leading you in a place that you know, or two folks that you want to, you know, build with or connect with, or you see valuable to have as a part of your narrative. But you know, from here, we just continue to do the work. And it feels like every time we hit a milestone, it's like we're just starting again. Like, oh, here we go. We're just starting. So we got this new HQ, public facing. I watch people walk by every day and look at the sign, look in the window, look at the sign, look in the window, and look just puzzled. Like, what? what is this, you know?
And it's an awesome spot.
Yeah, man, we're really thankful for it.
It's awesome.
We're excited just to continue to do the work, man. Yeah. You know, we started this looking for best practice, and we looking for models to how do we do this work, who's doing this work that we can model ourselves after, only to find out that best practice is a myth.
That's
you know what I'm
right.
saying? Like
Amen.
there's only better practice. So we set out to be impactful, to make a difference, um, to have accountability,
Yeah.
you know, and to have the support and to build trust in our community. And we've been nimble enough to make adjustments along the way and
Yeah.
figure out what the better practice is. And we look back, you know, a dozen years, and I was like, we have been forging better practice, and we're still open
Yeah.
to what's next. You know, so we are nimble enough to pivot. You know, when the culture needs us to.
Yeah.
You know, we have things that we hold true to. We believe that, you know, our youth are important, right?
Yeah.
We believe their futures are important. We believe our history is important,
Yeah.
just as important as what they're going to do with, you know, the time we give them or the time they have, you know. So yeah, we're excited just to continue to build out that better practice, to share that information. You know, we're not hoarding anything. You know, we're an open book. Again, we're a bridge,
Yeah.
a gap filler. You know what I'm saying? So we can cross the bridge together, continue to work together,
That's right.
and ultimately, you know, continue to have a deeper and more meaningful impact in our community for folks who are involved in it.
That concept of better practice. Right? I think oftentimes we in the nonprofit world are told, go find best practice and then do it. And I think if we're going to be crass about it, it's to justify failure. It's to say, hey, we looked at that thing, we tried it, it didn't work, oh well.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, we went to look at what's working around the country. We know it's not going to fit our city because our city is unique, but we take these principles, these pillars, what we believe is working. We craft it and tailor it to what our kids need and our city and our culture needs, our community can, to be honest, support.
Yeah.
We do it, and instead of then saying, oh, it didn't work, we say, oh, let's make this better.
Yeah.
Let's make this better.
Yeah.
Let's make this better.
Yep.
It's akin to, as we've talked at like the promise table, our board at one point had to have a serious crossroads moment. The question was, if our scholars all today, all 500 that are on campus right now, just quit, what would we do? And there's two options. You either say, well, I guess we don't fund the scholarships. Or you say, wait a minute, if we believe in the inherent worth of every young person in this city and we invest accordingly, we got to change our programs. We better go get them.
Yeah.
Then we can fund scholarships again.
Yep.
That concept of a better practice to me is incredibly encouraging, and I will be sure to quote you on those things. I'll be like, well, you know, my friend Ozay, he says better practice. Because what happens when we're all committed to that?
Yeah.
One, we stop trying to make excuses for things that didn't work.
Right.
Instead, we say, well, that didn't work. Let's make it better.
Yeah.
Let's double down. Yeah. Let's triple down. Oh, it looks like this program isn't working as effectively as it could.
Right.
Let's double down.
Right. It gives us the opportunity to get out the way, too. You know, sometimes we are in our own way of effective or impactful results. Yeah. We're getting in the way of that just by, you know, archaic beliefs or thoughts or ideologies that aren't serving the greater good or the goal. Yeah. You know, and it's hard. It's hard to. One of the greatest things we had a chance to do, at least I'm so thankful for, is it's almost like life insurance, but like the concept of succession planning, right? It's so humbling because you have to really think about this work living on in perpetuity and being handed off well, right? Yeah. When I'm gone, when I'm done doing this, because it will come a time where I'm not serving this organization the best it should be served, right? And that's fine. That's the natural way of things. Right. Hopefully I'm not so out of touch that I can't have a voice, but the reality is you have to be doing work that will live beyond you. That's my philosophy. Yeah. And I think that allows for yourself to be removed from the situation as being the end all be all, say so for whatever, knowing that, hey, this work is bigger than any one person. It's bigger than any couple people. This is about impact and changing culture, changing society, and ultimately doing good work. You know what I mean? So,
amen.
Yeah, man. Yeah, get to be in it with you, and this is beautiful.
Brother, it is a privilege to count you as a friend,
Likewise.
As a colleague, as a brother, as a comrade in this work, as an inspiration.
Likewise, man.
Brother,
Likewise.
Thank you for Thank you for doing this work.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you for supporting it. Seriously. You came along early on and said, how do I help to get this off the ground? And you do that for a lot of people, man. As I tell you, you have this crazy ability to bring folks from polarizing spaces to the same table to find a commonality or a common thread or a common denominator, and then double down on that denominator and build something beautiful, man. So thank you for your work. Thank you for bringing this city together, bringing a lot of players together to unify, and for believing in us, man. Back when we didn't have a lot of answers. Some of these answers come by way of you showing up and showing how it's done in real time, So we've just been learning as we go, and we have great people in our sphere to kind of demonstrate and model what it looks like to walk this out. So thank you, bro.
Oh, come on.
We go back and forth, bro.
That was the first. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is what community looks like, right? Us continuing to walk together. Us not, our willingness to continue to double down even when it's hard. Our willingness to play roles in the shadows or in the back scenes because we should not be the front runners, right? What is it? In order to lead, you first got to be able to follow, right? I think it's important that we do both. Brother, thank you for leading. Thank you for, man, the first tears. Damn. All right. Season's open now. It's official. We made it. First season is now in the books.
Yeah, man.
Ozay Moore, I can't think of a greater friend. Brother, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for this work.
Appreciate you, man.
Look. Okay, 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it.
Been too many moments of silence, too many lives have been lost to gun violence. My God, we need some guidance. It's the same city that can be so tragic, also produces a brother like Shabazz and births a man like magic. Why I'm Lansing, born and raised, 517 to the grave. We got culture in our veins, we take the reins. With reformation comes a promise, better future is upon us. You can doubt it like Thomas, but we gon' rise like Adonis, and ain't nobody gon' stop us. We gon' get better, this a letter to my city that we fed up. Ain't gon' let applying pressure until everybody gets it. They can't try us, they can't buy us, gentrify us. When it's coming to my city, man, I'm blue collar bias. They can't divide us, united we stand like digits on a hand. Make it to the promised land, we coming up with a plan to make this a better place. I'm proud of Lansing, you can see it on my face. We gotta retrace and learn how to win this place.
51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. I ain't never seen a city sleep. You can really hit a city breathe. They be saying we ain't got culture, they just don't know what it really means. No, we gotta represent heavy underrated, yeah, we gotta make a scene. No shade to the other guys, but you can't deny we the one to be. Capital city, the map looking pretty when we on it. So community driven, the people we living with, loving each other. That's all that we seeking for, ain't no reason to need more. A lot of people saying go to the D4, so we need to be seen more. Dream more, need a reason to be more, we just gotta believe more. I mold my style around the influences that I've witnessed. A new beginning, truer vision, it'll soon be finished. Endless inspiration from the people that I've known. Yes, I've grown to love the city as the city made me grown. Know whatever way you choosing for yourself to be expressed, there's a place that's meant for you so you can grow into your best. I can attest to its greatness with my chest, I'm here to say it. We will soon become the mecca of success. I'm expecting nothing. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing, living in the moment.